the phoenix, brought down to nothing in the fire, nothing but ash, hardly recognizable, the value not clear, the future uncertain. Yet through the pain of that fire, turning the ash into something even better, brighter, and more beautiful than what went in. Many of us don't give ourselves enough credit for the fires we have gone through, survived, and grown from. In your majesty, right now with your wings spread, I celebrate you. And if you can't find your wings, I trust and believe that with time, you will find them. This episode of Good Gas Mondays is dedicated to the phoenix in each of us. And we're joined for a conversation today by Stephany Staple. Her story of losing herself at a very early age, unable to find love, unable to find stability, unable to see with certainty her value. She was able to grow those wings very early, having to make it through fires that none of us as little girls should ever be asked to do. But the fight within us will not allow us to fail. So wherever you meet your fire, may you find a sense of will, desire, and grit to make it through and take it higher. Welcome to her Phoenix story. I'm Krystal Tomlinson, success farmer and all-round cheerleader for women who are allowing themselves to be vulnerable and sharing those moments that make them, those hard moments that make us who we are, the moments that transform us from the hardships of sailing these seas. But those hardships help to bring us back to shore, bring us back to our true selves, forcing us to face the real me in the mirror, get comfortable with our realities and our truth, and unearth new strength, and of course give us wings to soar even higher. You know the story of the phoenix, going through the fire, becoming ash, and then allowing the pain of that fire to transform it into a majestic, mythical bird that takes on new heights. And today, inside our space, we're going to be speaking with a woman who has her own story of struggle and trial, but more importantly, triumph. Her name is Stephany Staple, and I want to welcome you to our transformation space, because that's what we're talking about here today, the journey to transformation. Welcome, 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 Stephany. How are you?
Good morning, Krystal, and thanks for having me. I am happy to share my story, and I hope it will touch someone out there to show them that it is not over until you say it is.
Amen. Isn't that what we need to believe? It's not over until we say it is. We, in essence, are the fat lady, right? So not until we sing is it over. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to share with us here and tell your Phoenix story to our community of gladiators. One of the things I am very inspired by is the ability we have to power each other just by telling the truth. And the truth is a hard thing to tell because the truth tells on us, you know, who we have been in our lives, what we have failed to do for ourselves, how we have betrayed even our own principles. But the other side of truth is that it allows us to face the road ahead and take the hard, disciplined action necessary to see transformation. So to start off, I want to ask you to give me three words that you would use to describe your life right now.
Free, purposeful, and progressive.
Free,
Purposeful, and progressive.
And progressive. You know, purpose is my word, right? Purposeful and progressive. And why did you choose those three words? What about those three resonate with you?
Well, based on where my life was, I thought I was, you know, what we would call in slavery, not literal slavery, but especially in my mind. So now I am able to break free of those shackles and I'm living the life or a part of the life I wanted as a child. Mm-hmm. So yes, in that sense, I am free. Each day I work towards something new, so I am progressing each day or each week or each month, however we put it. And purposeful, I now realize that, well, back a few years before now, I used to think, why was I born? Why am I even here? I didn't think my life have any meaning, but no, I realized there always a greater purpose for me. There's something, even if I touch somebody's life out there, or I did something good and someone can say thank you or whatever, that is my purpose here on earth.
Free, purposeful, productive, progressive. Well, I'm interested in the background story for you, Stephany, because I met you a few months ago through a raw food challenge that our mutual sister, Stasia Davidson, leads. And I got a taste of your story in terms of your journey with health and how the body caused you to deal with some real pain and also get serious about how you take care of yourself. But there is a story even beyond and before that. And one of the things you had shared in our preparatory conversation was around the sense of being alone and abandoned very early in life by your father. Tell me a little bit about that. What was the relationship like with your father?
Well, my story all begins. First of all, I was raised by my great grandmother. That's my dad's grandmother. I was born in the house. However, my mom left at a tender age at 4 months old. So that's when my great grandmother took care of me. My dad was there physically, in a sense where I can say, yes, I have a father, but it was my great grandmother who played both the father role and the mother role and the grandmother role and whatever. But I felt that there was still something lacking. It was just the two of us in the house, so no siblings, no cousins, nobody else. And I just felt alone. I mean, no one to play with, no one to even talk to if I was having a problem. And I was raised a bit closed off. So it was, first of all, it was a religious home. She was a pastor. So it was mostly from home to school, home to church and back. No friends, no one, even if I stepped outside to say, okay, I'm going over by some of the girls' house who I grew up with, my dad would come for me, send me back in the house. So I didn't have a social life. I didn't have anything. I literally just played with myself. I became a bookworm because that's the only company I knew. And that was it. I say primary school was okay until I touched high school. When I had my first period, I had no one to walk me through. And that was when I started missing my mother, or missing just a female presence. So I had my period, and that was when I really realized, yes, you are alone. 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade. It was about in 4th form now, my aunt stepped in to say help financially. My dad still nowhere to be found really to say, okay, I have a dad who I can, lean on. And I realized because my aunt stepped in now, he started to really distance himself physically. So most time if I said, Daddy, this and that, he was quick to say, call your aunt. So I was like, my aunt was living in Kingston, still living in Kingston. So over the years, she kind of like, filled that gap of my mother and father per se. So that was really, and I think in his head, maybe it was tough love or whatever, but at a tender age like that, I really didn't understand much what was going on. All was in my head is, I have nobody, no one loved me, and I'm just all alone.
And that sense of being alone and unloved by the people who you would have expected to show you love first, how did that affect your ability to love yourself and to choose the right kinds of people to pull into your life and support you? In essence, choose people who love you as well.
It affected me great because I didn't even know what self-love was. I did not love myself. As I said in an earlier conversation with you, I was like questioning myself, why am I here? If no one loves me, then why am I here? Why anything? And I think once my dad said to me, he didn't have to take care of me because he wasn't sure I am his child. But yet still when I walk around, everybody said to me, oh, you look like your dad, you look like your dad. So, and then I remember one of my aunts said to me that God revealed to her that I was searching for love, because then I started getting into trouble with boys. I had a boyfriend, what we call a boyfriend at the time, but he was older. So, and then my father didn't like it, but I think I was rebelling in some way. So the more he tried to pull me away from the guy, the more I run into the guy, or, because I was searching for something I did not have, but I was searching for it in the wrong place. Because looking back at it, no, that wasn't really a healthy relationship or anything. I just wanted some love.
I want to go back to what you said about daddy making the comment and hinting at the fact that he could not be your father. There's a possibility that he's not your daddy. For a young girl who already feels like she has nobody, and the one person that at least by blood you're sure that they are yours and you are theirs. When he said that to you, what feelings, if you could find the words for those feelings, how would you describe it?
Well, I remember my action. I remember wanting to take my own life. My great grandmother at the time, she was a diabetic, so she have her medications and stuff, and I was the one giving it to her. I remember one morning before going to school, I was looking at the medications, and what was running through my mind was just take some and end it right here. But then there was another voice who said, you can push through. So it was like a tug of war. And I was there for just staring at the medication for a while. And then it's like, I just snapped out of it. But yeah, I came close.
Have you ever had that conversation with your father to let him know the impact it has had, or the feelings that you maybe still have?
No, because he wasn't a person, or he is still not that person who make it easy for you to come and talk to him. If you say anything to him, he just always feel that you are the child and he's the father. So, that there wasn't the space. He didn't create that space for you to have a conversation with him. So,
if you could,
he have no idea how I feel up to this day.
If you could write a letter to him, let's say he was not in Jamaica, you couldn't reach him by phone call, and you would just have to write and put something in the mail. If you could write a letter to him, a Dear Daddy letter, what would you say to him?
I would just ask him why. That's just the biggest question. Why wasn't he there? Why didn't, And the funny thing is, it's two of us, me and my brother, but I am the older one. But my brother grew up with his mother, probably about 30 minutes away. So I know I had a brother and I was living with him. So I said, okay, he know my mother is not present, so he should step us. So that's the only thing I would ask him, why. And I think I'm not sure if it was when I just started college or the later part of high school. You know, I told him one day that, you know, the reason why I get into trouble is just to get your attention. But I'm not sure if he took it serious or anything, but I was serious. Because I know that was exactly what I was doing, getting myself into trouble. Because that was the only time he'd come and talk to me, when he heard I do this, or sometimes it's not even true, but he don't come and ask. He just come, curse, curse, curse. And that was the only time I get his attention. So I would just deliberately get myself into trouble just for him to come and curse.
You know, there's so many little girls and boys just like that. And parents don't recognize that it is an attention seeking moment. I want you to see me. I want you to hear me. I want you to be bothered by something I do. I want you to care. And trouble seems to be the only thing that pulls the parent in. And I'm so happy you've said that, because I know for me, that too was a part of how I expressed myself when I was in high school. If I did something wrong, I got some attention, and then we could talk about me, you know, because I just didn't feel like I had space to talk about me and what I was feeling. So we mentioned very briefly at the top that mommy had left when you were 4 months old. Have you had occasion to speak with her, meet her? Do you know her?
Yes, growing up, she came, like she passed through, probably visit during the like summer holidays or Christmas. She passed through for like a day, and that was it. But I always question myself, I was raised somewhere else. Why not just stay the night? And it was since I'm an adult now, I asked her why, you know, just sleep, wash my hair the next day, make me some breakfast or whatever mommy duty. And she didn't really give me an okay answer in my head. So I just left it alone. We struggled over the years for that mommy-daughter band. And then nowadays I just really give up, because I see it's 4 of us on her side. And most times, especially on social media, she made reference to only 3 kids. That's the 3 that she raised. And those little things just let me say, okay, just I have a mommy, that's it, we talk, but that crave I have for a mommy-daughter relationship, I just give up on it.
So you've released the expectation that mommy will be mommy in the sense that you need her to be a mother. Have you released the resentment from mommy and daddy? Do you feel like you still carry that disappointment, if not full-on rage, because they did not show up for you the way you needed your parents to do?
Yes, I do. I remember like a lot of times I probably miss calls from them, or, you know, and if I miss the call, I don't have that urge to call them back. I don't that urge to reach out. Yes, I reach out to them on special occasions or whatever, but that urge, you know, you see a missed call and you say, okay. And I remember one instance I heard something was wrong with my mommy, and I literally prayed to God to forgive me. But, you know, that feeling you get when something is wrong with one of your parents, especially your mother, I did not get that at all. All I said to my sister was, okay, keep me posted. And I went on with my day at work like it's just another day. I know it's wrong, but I just hold on to so much, and I can't get the answers I want from them. So.
And is it the same for daddy, that sense of, well, if you're here, you're here, but if you weren't here tomorrow, it wouldn't matter?
No. I would feel it if something is wrong with my dad, because growing up, even though he wasn't there as I wanted him to, he was the one parent I grew up with, or, you know, around me and stuff like that. So yes, if something is wrong with him, I would feel it, but there are other little things where, and then now, since I start work, you know, the somewhat of the love that I wanted him to show me when I was younger. So it's freaking me out now, because he's telling me stuff like, oh, I'm proud of you, or I love you, but I am not used to it, so I don't know how to. So when he tell me that, I was like, I don't know how to respond to that because I am not used to it.
If you could do a Dear Mommy letter, what would you put in that letter? What are 3 things that you would say to your mother in that letter?
For both parents, it's just mostly questions. I would ask why didn't she bring me with her, and why did she give up? Because I think my grandmother, that her mother told me that because she had me at a tender age of 14. So when she left, I heard she left to go back to school. But then her second child is just 1 year younger than me. So obviously she did not go back to school, really. She had 3 other children. So, and even though I didn't grow up with her, and most people, like people that we know good or something, they always said, I only hear your mommy talking about the three other kids. I don't hear she mention you. And those stuff make me feel bad, because if I'm the only one seeing it, that's okay. But when other people on the outside seeing it, then it is not obvious that you really did not care, so to speak. Or in my eyes, really did not care.
So having started life with that sense of being abandoned by mom and unloved by daddy in a way that you could understand his love, we make it into puberty. We're entering womanhood. We're trying to figure out our body. And we're also looking for love. Yes, Stephany is looking at life and trying to find somebody who will love her. At what age did you start to experience physical changes in your body that told you you were ill or something was not right?
Around 17 years old,
Mm-hmm.
I realized that the first time was with my period. So I would have my period like twice per month. But then, so it would probably come for like 14 days, and then it breaks, and then it start back closer to the end of the month. So it will come, the first part stop, then come back. And it went on like that for about 2 months or so. And I remember the first month I missed it. Like, it did not come, none at all. I remember I had a sports day at school, and my dad said to me, he asked me how I did not come to him for any, female stuff. So I said, my period is not here yet. So he said, if you don't have your period, then you're not going to sports day. So that month I missed sports day because my period didn't come. And that was a wake-up call for me, because I know I wasn't pregnant or anything, so it has to be something else. So I went to the doctor. It was a female doctor. I went there. I explained to her, and she said to me, it sounds as if I am having some hormonal imbalance. So she's going to send me to do an ultrasound to get a better understanding of what was going on. So I went and I did it. And when I bring it back to her, she opened it, tried to explain as much as possible that I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. At the time, though, it was just, I think it was about two cysts on one ovary. So it was, controllable at that time. So she prescribed 2 medications, a birth control to regulate the period, because she was, and sometimes it did not come, sometimes come for a lengthy period. So the birth control was to just regulate it. So I think it was 21 days. And then the other one was metformin to because persons with PCOS, as we would call it, they have insulin resistance. So, that can lead to diabetes, obesity, and all of that. So yes, that was the purpose of the metformin, and it also helps with fertility, to boost fertility as well. So at the time, I don't remember if she had said to me anything about the way I was eating, but as a 17-year-old, you really don't want to know you have issues like that with your reproductive system. So anyways, I did not question it. I just wanted my period to stop acting crazy. So I went to the pharmacy, I filled my prescription. I took it for about 2 months. She said when I took it, and I finished taking it, I should come back to her, but I did not, because at the time I was dealing with C-sec, and as I told you, I didn't really have, it's not like now where I can be open and talk about it and people listening to me and giving me tips and stuff. That time it was just me and my 4 corners, my bedroom. So it was just me and dealing with that and preparing for C-sec and all of that. Yes, my aunt was there where I could probably call and talk to her over the phone, but I think I needed somebody who was in my space, at home, close to me, where I can sit and actually have a conversation with her, well, or him if it was my dad. And I just felt like I had to deal with it on my own because no one was there, no one cared. So but when I took the medication, my period was okay, but obviously I wasn't okay. Something was still wrong inside. But I think that the medication only fixed one symptom. My tummy was getting bigger. At the time, I did not know that was the cause. In my head, I was just eating a lot. So, I tried to cut down on the food and all of that, which was bad. And I realized some dark spots under my breast, on my neck, armpits. And I started to grow in 1 or 2 facial hair. But the thing about my period, even though it was, regulated somewhat, I used to feel terrible cramps. But in my head, it was business as usual every day, everything was fine. I went on like that. I was looking at it now, I was still living with PCOS. It's just that because I did not go back to the doctor to actually figure that one out. And it was about 2018 when I'm in my 20s now, and I have started to feel intense abdominal pain, especially during sexual intercourse. And my boyfriend at the time said to me, "No, Steph, this is not normal." And he gave me the money and said, "Go to a gynecologist instead." So I went to the gynecologist. One of my friends referred me to one, and I went there. This was when I found out I have fibroids. I have uterine fibroids. Nothing about the PCOS came about at that time. So it was a fibroids now I have to deal with. And those symptoms, they are way, way worse. The bloating, sometimes I'm having my period, it literally feels like something pulling, yeah. Frequent urination to a point where it got annoying. I would urinate probably 2 to 3 times in 5 minutes. Worse when I'm drinking water. And even at night, I used to stop drinking water at probably around 7 p.m. just to, to not get up in the night to use the bathroom or anything like that. And then, because what the gynecologist explained to me, uterine fibroid is something that presses on your bladder. So even when your bladder is not full, you're going to feel like you want to urinate. And you have to go, because if you don't go, then, you probably wet yourself and that's embarrassing. So, and sometimes when I feel down and my abdomen area, I can actually feel it bulging. That's when it really gets aggressive, because certain foods I was supposed to stay away from. Like dairy was one of my biggest enemy, and I still was eating my cheese, but I realized anytime I eat those stuff, then that's when the fibroids act up really, really bad. And that's it for the fibroids. And then the PCOS come back last year. So I just spontaneously get up and say, okay, I'm going to the doctor to check on the fibroid, see if everything is fine. When I go to do the ultrasound, there was the polycystic ovarian syndrome on both ovaries now, multiple. So I am now dealing with fibroids and PCOS.
What kind of pain are you in? I mean, like 0 to 10, what kind of pain are you in from both of those at the same time?
I would say 15.
Wow. And you are treating that how? You know, what has been helping you? I know it's kind of a touch and go thing because there's no one approach that's going to help everybody. So you have to figure it out for yourself. What has been working for you or showing, you know, good signs?
Oh, when I was diagnosed with the fibroids, he said to me, there's no treatment, just changing your lifestyle. Because at the time, all he prescribed for me was some pain medication to take when I'm having my period. So I should take it for, I think it was 3 months and then come back to him. But when I look at it, Krystal, I take it for the 3 months and I did not go back. And then the time when I go back now was when I found out about the PCOS. And when I found out about the PCOS now and I realized I have to deal with both of them, he said to me, it's either you take medication or you change your lifestyle. But I was so tired of the medication because one of them is the birth control and I don't want to take that. So I said to him, we're going to make a deal. Give me 6 months. I'm going to change my lifestyle. If when I come back in 6 months, nothing changes, then you can give me the medication. Because really, as I said before, the medication, especially for the PCOS, I don't have kids or anything yet. So the medication for the PCOS will be something to boost the fertility. So I said, all right, give me 6 months. So, you know, the alcohol, the meats, the everything I love, I have to be disciplined enough to cut them off. So I remember the day I went home and my great grandmother passed in 2015, so it was just me alone living in the house now. I went home and I take out everything that I wasn't supposed to eat and out of the kitchen and the fridge. And it went okay for a couple weeks. But what I thought I did at the time was, you know, you rush. You don't prepare your body like how Stephany would say, you prepare your body for the raw food. I did not prepare, both mentally and I did not prepare my body for that change. So I gradually went back to the eating the chicken because especially with the fibroids, it's the hormone estrogen that's feeding it. So what really is the secret is starving the fibroids by eating the food that have a low estrogen level, like your plants. So when you eat your red meats and drinking the alcohol and the dairy, for, you know, dairy is the biggest one. Yes, those are the food that provides the estrogen to feed the fibroids. And even with pregnancy, right now, if I get pregnant, it's still a risk because, you know, when you're pregnant, the estrogen level in your body goes up. So it would be a 50-50 chance at risk for it as well.
So we're dealing with 2 very serious conditions right now, figuring out through lifestyle change how to treat that. Working, you are a farm supervisor, right? Agriculturalist. And then also planning a future for Stephany. What is it that you would like to achieve in your next chapter? What goals do you have? And do you feel like at some point between health and the emotional state that you were in, you were held back from pursuing those goals?
Yes, I was. With the whole situation of mommy and daddy and how I grew up and there was any love, sometimes I feel like, you know, and probably what I was lacking was someone to motivate me. Because I remember, as you call me an agriculturalist, I realized I have a love for agriculture around 9th grade. So now, yeah. And in 10th grade now, and that was in 10th grade, was the first parent-teachers meeting my dad attended in the whole high school time. He used to just send a lady, you know, to come and hear what he's supposed to be hearing. And when he came and he met with all my teachers, and I remember he met with my agriculture teacher, that was his friend. And you know, the teacher was telling him I am doing great. And when you saw my report at the time, my agriculture grade was higher than everything else. And he said to me, no, he did not say anything to me until 11th grade. So no, I am doing agriculture in CXC. He said to me, if you don't pass anything, all I'm going to do is buy you a cutlass and a water boot and send you to a bush. That's what my dad said to me. And I just brush it off. You know, you over the years, I tried to just learn to motivate your own self and just push through regardless of whatever adversities you're going through. So I brushed myself off my auntie. Up to now, Krystal, my auntie is literally the only person I can depend on to be there, apart from myself, of course. And CXC come, my aunt, I did the 8C, CXC. My aunt paid for all of them. And I remember.
And is it because daddy could not afford to pay for it?
I wouldn't say that, but I think more of the fact that because my auntie stepped in at fourth form and started, when it comes to education, she's a very big believer. So I think that because he knows she's there and she will take care of that part, yeah, he just washed his hands. So at the time we were doing like nine subjects in the classes, but I only got recommended to do 8 because I did not like English literature. I didn't love to read. So when he found out I wasn't doing it in CXC, he didn't even ask me why. He wasn't concerned at all. All he said was, your auntie spent all this money to buy the books and you're not doing it. So when I said it to my auntie said, don't listen to him. I buy the books. Yes, you're not doing it, but that's okay. And one thing I hated during high school, though, I have this girl that I grew up with, and my father compares me with her every step of the way. If we started high school in different grades, but by 8th grade now, you know, we ended up in the same class. If she got 1 mark over me, Krystal, my father, him lose it. It's like I am supposed to be ahead of her all the time. Him just compare me, and I hated it. I hated it so much. So I did CXC, you know, and my auntie said to me, it was summer. No, I'm my aunt.
Go.
Yes, I did CXC, you know, end of June. My aunt said to me, come to, because she's living in Mona, so she said, come to Kingston, just, you know, unwind, de-stress, whatever. So happy now to get out of the house, because every little break, that was the first break I got to get out of the house, away from my dad and all the craziness. So I jumped at the opportunity and I went. That was my first visit to Kingston at 17 years old. And I went, now CXC results came out. My dad was the one who picked it up. So he called me in the morning and said, he called a person named the same girl that he's comparing me to, and said, like he would say, Krystal got all her subjects. I hope you get yours too. So in a way, I start fretting now, because I said, okay, if I don't pass, I'm going to waste my auntie money, and then my dad would be in my back, and then this, you know, this would, because you know, CXC is a stepping stool to your life, dream, all that. Yes. So I said, oh boy, if I don't pass, then this is it. And no one don't care about me already. This is when they're going to say, okay, I'm done. So anyways, he collected it, and then he called back and said, I passed. So now my auntie, at the time, my auntie was the only, as I said, I can't stress this enough, and I will forever say she's the only one, Krystal, the only one. And she said, pick a place in Kingston where you want to go and celebrate. And I always wanted to go to Devon House. So I said, okay. And she said, you sure you don't want to go to somewhere more fun? And I said, no, just Devon House. And we went to Devon House, me, she, and her kids, and we had ice cream. And she told me, congratulations. No, I passed my subjects. My father did not even say
congratulations. But so, and how did that make you feel? Because you must notice him call with a threat, right? He was conscious enough to call and threaten you. You better make sure, say, you get all of yours, like how she get all of hers. And then calls you back to say, okay, you did get all of yours. Nothing after that.
Nothing after that. And, you know,
what did you thought in that moment? Like, what were you saying to yourself in that moment?
At the time, nothing, because my aunt was there when he called back, and my aunt was over the moon, and so I was mostly focusing on what was going on, her reaction. Good. But it was after no, I did not look at it until in lower 6. So after, you know, the next day the results come out and stuff, my aunt asked me, what's next? In my head, I wasn't really thinking much of school. I said to her, I'm going to take a year off just to, you know, get rid of some negative energy and all of that. And she said, no, because once you started sitting out of school, that is it. Mm-hmm. And she said, you're going to 6th form. And I said, but I don't have any money. She said, don't worry yourself. And I went down, I think, the August and did the interview for 6th form at my school, Edwin Allen. And I got through. And the same day, because Auntie showed me so much love when I passed the CXC, I called her the same evening and said, Auntie, I got through. And she said, congratulations. I used my father's phone because at the time I didn't have a phone. And I rushed to him and I said, Daddy, Auntie, just tell me congrats for getting to 6th form. So you're not telling me? And he said, no, you don't make me proud. I felt so ashamed. We were on the road. Krystal, I felt so ashamed. And I just gave him the phone. And I remember walking up, and before I started crying at the gate. I just walk up, and what hit me harder at the time, so when I graduated, my brother is now moving on to 11th grade because he's just 1 year younger than me. So he did his CXC. Now I'm in Cape 1. So he did his CXC, and I think he failed math. And he said he wanted to go into the army. And he said he was going to go to evening class, redo the math and stuff. So he did that. And I remember one day Daddy bring his phone to me and said I should delete some messages. And then I buck up on these text message between him and my brother. And my brother told him that he passed math at the second over. And my father said, congrats, son. That was when it hit me hard. I said, okay, I passed everything at one sitting, and I did not make you proud. My brother resit math, and you're saying, congrats, son. And honestly, Krystal, you know, growing up, I resented my brother. I did, well, maybe no, if you listen to the podcast, then he would figure it out. But not really resent him, but I resented the bond between him and my father. And remember, he did not, he wasn't raised by my dad, he was raised by his mother. So I was saying, what was different? I was living in the house that my father grew up in. He see me every day. I do what I'm told, I do what I was supposed to, but yet still, I did not make him proud. And I went on to Cape. My aunt again paid the Cape fee. She paid for my Cape exam. And then one of my teachers called me one day and said, like, oh, you want to go to case, just don't bother do upper six because you don't really need CAPE levels to go into the case. So she said, second year, just go to case. And I was, struggling between. So I talked to my aunt and she said, whatever I want to do, she will support me. Of course, my dad did not agree because he wants me to go to teacher's college. I remember telling him, if they send me to teacher's college, I'm going to waste their money because I don't want to be a teacher. And one day I remember I called my aunt and she said, guess where I am? And I said, Kingston? She said, no, she's in Portland. The lady drove with my application, Krystal, to Portland to drop it off at Case in the rain because it was raining.
From Kingston to Portland, them time that the road no good.
This was about 2011. She drove to Portland with my application and dropped it off. And she said she and my dad at the time made a deal. She said she's going to start me off, pay my full, the full tuition for year one, and then he would pay for me the rest of the years. So my auntie did that first year. First year went good. I failed. This is when all the everything I was struggling to keep in just come out. Everything that I didn't deal with when I was growing up just come out. I failed first year college miserably. I think I'd probably just pass too, because I think what I wanted mostly was just to get out of the house and get away from my dad. So I did not hope. I was just glad for the freedom, the breathing space, the space to just live, So yeah, I failed. And even when I failed, all my auntie looked at me and said, the brightest of the brightest fail before they succeed. And trust me, tuition at the time was 180,000. So I just burned up your 180,000 plus, the money you spend to buy food and what. And I remember when I was shopping to go in, she bought everything. So everything I wanted for boarding, she bought it. When we were on the road shopping, the bank called her just to find out if she was the one using her credit card. Everything. So I was like, I just failed. And all you're telling me is that the brightest of the brightest, failed before they succeed. She did not give up. And the kicker though is that when I was supposed to go on to second year, the school accepted me for second year, but they accepted me on academic probation. So I had to bring second year course and resit first year, because at the time it was an associate in general agriculture. This is when my father's supposed to step up and pay for second year. He said he don't have any money. So I had to sit out, because that time my aunt's eldest daughter now starts Edna Manley. So, she couldn't really juggle both of us, and I sit out. I felt so bad. I felt so ashamed because I left Edwin just the Cape one and left. All of my friends, they went on to do upper six, and when I'm sitting out there now in UWI, my best friend was doing nurse at UWI, and she did not know I sat out a year until about a couple of years ago, because I was ashamed to tell her that, I am not at college anymore. And 1 year sitting out turns into 2 years. Around this time, my great-grandmother, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And because I was the last one she raised, everybody looked at me to, stay at home, take care of her and all of that. So in my head, I thought I owed her, so I did not complain. And Knox Community College is close by. So when I looked at some programs they offered, they don't offer environmental science that I wanted to do the bachelor's in that case, but they offered environmental studies. So I said, okay, I'm going to study this. I signed up and I did 1 year there. And then when I'm supposed to go on second year, my father failed again. So in my head, I started to tell myself it was, I should have gone to high school and wasted my time, not do anything and struggle now than, you went to high school, you did your best to come out and graduate, and now you want to go to college and
still struggling.
So I know my great-grandmother died in 2015, and this hit me. She died in April, and then I would have my finals in May. Mm-hmm. The lady that raised me from 4 months old now died at age 22. So, I lived with her all my life. It was like somebody kicked me in the gut. And I got through it. I got through it. I don't know how though. I know I have this friend. I had just met her at Knox Community College, and she was there. If you go to college and you have two friends and one can't come, the other one would go to get the notes. She did not go every day. She's at my house when my grandmother died, just to ensure that, I am okay, everything is okay. And then I remember when finals now in May, her mom said to me to stay at their house to do my exams, just to study with her and, the moral support and all of that. And I did my exams and I went back home. 2016 now, nothing. 2017, my partner at the time, he said he did not recognize me because my grandmother, maybe he did not understand at the time how dear my great-grandmother was to me. But it's like I changed. I started partying, I started drinking. I literally did not care about anything. And he said to me, he's leaving because he doesn't recognize the person I am anymore. And I just brush it off and say, okay, one more person leave. I am no stranger to that. And 2017 now was when I said, all right, Steph, you have enough idle time. It's time for you to get up. Remember those dreams you have when you were younger and start over. I reapplied to case. I got through and I went there. I did not even know who I was going because now all three of my auntie kids are in college. So I can't, she's struggling as well. My dad and my dad, I just literally stopped depending on him. My grandmother just died and I was going to Knox. And I remember he was working and he gave me my money. He was leaving for 2 weeks for a job. And he gave me my lunch money for 2 weeks. And when I counted it, I realized it was just a dead lunch money. I said to him, Daddy, give me some extra money for grocery and he said to me, I have a man. Make your man buy it. And I was in front of people, My brother was there. The guys that worked with him was there. His girlfriend was there, and he just said like that. And I said, okay. And all I did, I pick up my phone and I called my auntie, and she sent the money, and I bought my grocery. On many occasions, that's what he told me. I remember once I got a call for interview. Like I got the call for the interview today, and I'm supposed to go tomorrow, the other day, and I did not have any money for fear. And I went to him the night, so excited, I went to him and I said, Daddy, I have an interview. I need to go, some money for fear. And he said, you have a man, ask a man. That's what he keeps telling me. I have man, I should do this, I should do that. And there was a lady right there when he said it. And the lady said, no, don't tell her that like she's selling her body. And even though it was an interview that I could make some money, he did not. give me that money to go to that interview. So.
It's clear to me that your fires were really in your teenage to early 20 years, a very young time to be going through the heat, going through the ringer, and being forced to find your own footing, grow your own wings, and just take off on your own with very little support, save and except for your dear auntie. Now that you have gone through those things and just looked back on the things that caused you pain, you know, perhaps traumatized you in the moment, but you did not allow them to keep you stuck and to keep you down. So you still found a way to your freedom, to your sense of purpose, and to your progress. So you're consistently every day just taking more steps forward and spreading the wings and getting a little bit higher. As you look back on those experiences and where you are now, when you think about the height that you have gotten to despite all of that, which of your difficulties do you want to say thank you to? Because sometimes the hardship, you know, is what gets us the clarity and gives us the strength. So when you look back at the hardship, which one of them you would say, you know, thank you for that. Thank you for doing this to me so I could learn and get here.
I would say thanks to both my parents. One, my mom, if I always look at it, if I was raised by my mom, I really wouldn't have my auntie, and then I probably wouldn't reach here, because when I look on where I am now comparing to my other siblings that was raised by her, you know, I am grateful for growing up with daddy. Daddy, you know, I probably was tough love in his eyes, but I would say thanks for the tough love. I wouldn't change a thing about how I grew up. I wouldn't change nothing, because last year I got an interview with the Gleaner and GIS. The other day I did an interview with Patricia. Now I'm on this show with you. So all of that led me here. So I wouldn't, if I should die and come back, I want to live my life exactly the same way. The job I'm in now, it was because I changed school. Mm-hmm. So because it was one of my teachers who recommended me for this job. So all of the persons who I have met in about the past 2 to 3 years, if my life was like a princess life, I wouldn't have met them. So I wouldn't change nothing.
Well, tell me, what did you learn about yourself during those fires? Well, you learn about Stephany. You know that, well, I am this and I am that and I am not and I will not. What did you learn about yourself?
I learned that I'm stronger. And, you know, one of my coworkers said it to me the other day too, that, you know, you're strong, but you show yourself when challenges come about. So I realized that I am stronger than I give credit to myself. And what I used to do is allow persons' words to define me, because once my dad told me, you know, one time he told me that you're not coming out to anything, you know, and because of my circumstances, and I had to change school a lot, you know, from case to Knox and back to case, he said, I don't know what I want, but he's not looking at, you know, that is the challenges or the hardships that, you know, causes me to shift between schools. So yeah, I am stronger than I think a lot, and I won't allow his words, or I still resent him somewhat, but I am glad I did not allow his words to define me or get the better of me. And it is always possible. And as I told you before, it is not over until I said it is over.
And that's your sense of personal power right there. So you are clear on your personal power, having gone through those hardships, those files, those difficulties. I want you to complete these statements for me. Yeah. Never again will I, with as much honesty as you can. Never again will I
lose my self-confidence.
Ooh. I will always
stay true to myself and remember who I am.
This new me is
ready to take on any challenges.
Perfect. Stephany, thank you so much for sharing with us on our Good Gas Mondays podcast your own Phoenix story, having to surmount what anybody could easily qualify as betrayal. Those meant to protect you and to nurture and guide and strengthen you, not giving you the wings you needed when you needed them. And so you had to grow them for yourself. You're now working on a book. Would you like to share with our audience what that is about, when they can expect it?
Yes, it's a book centered around my struggles with, my reproductive health and how I use nutrition. And thanks, Dacia, for, coming up with a raw challenge. So it's mainly about how I use nutrition to heal myself or, take care of certain annoying symptoms that I had. And hopefully the book will be out by next year, and I will be working alongside Krystal. To get it done. I started writing, and yes, so by next year.
Where can people find you, to follow you, and to get more updates on what you're doing, especially your book? Because I imagine you're going to be telling more of the stories around your PCOS fibroid journey and what you've done to manage and surmount and get to a sense where you can actually manage the challenges there.
Yes.
So where can people find you online?
Yes, at Stephany_Staple on Instagram.
Stephany_Staple at Instagram. Phoenix Stephany, thank you so much for joining us here inside our podcast. It has been my pleasure hearing your story and getting to know you on a deeper level. I hope your story really inspires our gladiators and that they're able to find their own freedom and purpose and progress by hearing how you have made it through your own fire and chosen to rise from those ashes. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Good Gas Mondays. I really hope this story has inspired you. If you are going through your fire right now, if you feel as though you have been turned to ash, no matter where you are and no matter what it is, I trust and believe sincerely that you will find your wings and soar. As part of this conversation, I want to challenge you to do one thing. If you feel like you have been let down by somebody who was meant to protect you, promised to protect you and serve you, and did not, whether it is mommy, daddy, sibling, best friend, partner, I'm asking you to write a letter to them. Dear mommy, dear daddy, dear sister, dear friend, tell them exactly where they let you down and how that hurt you. Write a letter that honestly speaks to the impact that they have had on you by failing to support and protect you the way they promised or were really obligated to do. And include in that letter the ways that you have grown your wings through the fire, and thank them for the role they played in forcing you to grow those wings. And if you haven't grown the wings as yet, that's okay too. Your letter can end with a commitment to yourself to do for you what no one else has been able to. Meet your fire and sprout those wings. Blessings.